Greetings and salutations, East Africa, and wherever else you're joining us from. It is time for Your World as we continue to interrogate matters that affect you day to day. Now, speaking of which, they say change is as good as a rest, and this can also apply in careers too. Perhaps you feel the need to spread your wings into another field to expand your scope of experience. Maybe you no longer draw the excitement and contentment in your current career path, or perhaps you are eyeing a bigger and better job. Whatever the case, the good news is it does not matter how long you have been in the workforce or in a particular industry, it is possible to switch paths. But how do you make the switch strategically to allow yourself a soft landing? We delve into that conversation with the help of a career coach. So get ready with any of your questions as we shall be able to answer them in a moment. My name is Gladys Gashanja and this is what else you can expect. Inside the hours-long siege at Kisumu Equity Bank, detectives now turn to security cameras and staff after robbers escape. Police officers protest fresh salary cuts. And as I mentioned this morning, we talk about career transitions. Have you considered changing your career? Then this is for you. And of course, government to begin vaccinating 15 to 18-year-olds in quest for herd immunity. Thank you for making time for the broadcast. As I mentioned, today we're talking about career changing or transition. And that's why that question of the day to you is, have you ever considered changing your career and try something new? What is holding you back? And if you've already taken the leap, how is that experience or how was that experience? Talk to us. Have you ever thought of changing careers? What exactly is holding you back? And for those that have already gone ahead, how was that experience? Talk to us. That hashtag is a new normal. And remember, you can also call us using those numbers you will see at the bottom of your screen because the career coach will be taking any of your questions. But before we get to it, let's take a look at around the world in terms of the impact of COVID-19. And those numbers stand at 259,014,754 reported cases globally, 234,311,422 have recovered, and unfortunately 5,182,968 have succumbed to COVID-19 globally. In the country, 254,781 is the number of those confirmed to have contracted COVID-19. Out of that number, 247,992 have recovered, and we have lost 5,330 people to COVID-19 within the confines of Kenya. To some of the stories making headlines this Wednesday, and we begin in Kisumu, where police have now turned to security cameras and questioning individuals detained from the operation at the Equity Bank branch along Angawa Avenue to identify the criminals who robbed the facility. The 6-hour shootout ended with the escape of the armed robbers, but police say crucial leads from the crime scene may aid in resolving the mystery of those involved in the heist. Bridget Ngana with more.
Minutes after 11:30 a.m. this morning, gunfire rent the air along Angawa Street, Kisumu. A robbery attempt at the Equity Bank along this street was underway. Security officials were called in to contain the crowds. The gang entered the bank posing as clients. Some people inside the banking hall managed to escape, while others remained trapped with the thieves. The thieves are said to have released tear gas canisters in the banking hall, police having to use a fire engine to spray water into the building as they tried to get to the culprits. As the exchange continued, police were able to extract some clients and staff trapped in the banking hall. Security officials are puzzled by how the armed robbers were able to get access to tear gas canisters.
Most of the people at the police station, we want after this to go and do another search. And if we found anybody whom we suspect to have been involved in this particular act, appropriate legal action is going to be taken.
Calm eventually returned to the crime scene, and those trapped inside were evacuated. However, no arrests have been made so far.
Kutakuwa na Masterclass team waende waangalie kwa CCTV ni akina nani walikuwa wanaingia kwa bank kutoka saa 3. Tukishafanya hivyo, because tutakuwa na police, tutakuwa na watu wa National Intelligence Service, all of them, even the bank people, tunataka waangalie hiyo CCTV na kutoka saa 3 mpaka ile wakati ile kitendo kilitokea.
The Directorate of Criminal Investigations has been interrogating the survivors of the bank attack as the hunt for the robbers continues. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
Now, from one crime incident to another, security cameras at the Committee Maximum Security Prison were out of order the day 3 terror convicts broke out. This is according to the multi-agency team probing the circumstances of the escape, which shook the nation. Detectives are also looking into the money trail and communication links involving some officers in committee months before the prison break. Seth Olale is still on that story.
It is now emerging that security cameras at the highly guarded Committee Maximum Prison were all out on the day of the escape of 3 terror convicts. Detectives from the DCI Serious Crimes Unit, Anti-Terror Prevention Unit, forensic experts and crime scene processing officers are looking into how security camera malfunction happened and why it was never reported. Preliminary investigations show that committee prison warders Pamela Cherubet Kiplimo, Peter Thuku Kamau, Lilian Mukasia Lunani, and Nicholas Oteno Abongo, who are in police custody, were manning the security cameras and were on the duty on the 14th and 15th November when the convicts escaped from lawful custody. Furthermore, police want to know how the officers failed to notice the activities of the terror convicts prior to and during the escape, despite the condemned Block A6 being covered by CCTV cameras, and if they noticed the activities of the escapees, their reasons for failing to report.
The real work begins. What happened here on Monday was a very rude awakening that there are certain lapses that we need to deal with. We have spent the last 3 days working on, how to deal with some of those challenges. And I pray to God that we never get here as a country, because the level of anxiety the country got into was unnecessary because of the lapses that were here.
The government has already approved the installation of the new CCTV cameras and biometrics equipment. In last week's crisis security meeting at State House, Nairobi, President Uhuru Kenyatta ordered the Department of Correctional Services to take disciplinary action against all Kenya Prison Service personnel who were on duty when the rearrested fugitives broke out.
And we have officers we suspect failed in their duty to do this. We will ensure that the law takes its course and we bring all those who are involved to justice.
Investigators are also assessing a suspicious money trail and communication network involving some prison officers at committee, dating months before the escape of the 3 prisoners. Upon their recapture, convict Mohammed Abdi Abikar confessed to having been aided from committee by prison officers in exchange for a brine.
Ameniambia nyinyi mmeshika sisi. Nyinyi mko pari sana. Kama simu zetu hazingepotea, mungewachilia sisi. Akamuuliza kwa nini? Nyinyi hamwezi mkashinda ile watu wako kamiti na mmewachilia sisi. Tungempea nyinyi pesa.
Police are also analyzing data from 2 damaged mobile phones recovered near the scene where the 3 prisoners were rearrested. Preliminary investigations have established that the escapees were in communication with unknown men who ferried them from Kamiti to Machakos town via a private car and were reportedly waiting to pick them up later, a few kilometers from where they were caught. Detectives believe the escapees were handed the communication gadgets soon as they left jail. Seth Olale, NTV.
And still on security matters, a group of junior police officers is protesting the move by their employer to slash their salaries in a row over university degrees in the service. Now, the group of about 1,000 officers say they have received November payslips indicating a slash of up to 30,000 shillings. The officers are accusing the National Police Service of discrimination and harassment in what they say may contribute to crime within the service. Zainab Ismail has more.
The graduate police officers are protesting a directive by Inspector General Hilary Mutyambai that has adjusted their payroll, slashing the amount by as much as 30,000 shillings. This follows a protracted legal row over graduate police constables who are earning a salary of the rank of an inspector and which were to be slashed in the new payroll. The officers went to court in March 2018 and won the case. But in a 17th of November letter, the IG says the decision was reached after an appeal ruling set aside the orders of the Employment and Labour Relations Court barring the salary cuts, which have now been effected.
This thing affects close to 1,000 police officers. The Commission and the IG are literally driving their own police officers into depression. In the next few months, the same will spill over to our colleagues who have guaranteed our fellow graduate police officers in loans. And since we will not be able to service the loans, this will affect them negatively. This will lead to rampant cases of corruption amongst the officers, and even some officers will engage in crime just to stay afloat.
We feel discriminated. We feel that we are being harassed. We don't know how we are going to meet our basic needs. That is, how will I feed my family? How will I pay my rent? How will I present food at the table to my family? I don't know why the IG came up with such kind of a decision. Junior police officer, we are so much aggrieved, and we feel that what he's doing is totally unfair and is not there in the law.
NTV has obtained different pay slips capturing the reviews. This officer earns up to 51,000 shillings basic, but after the new deductions totaling to 53,390 shillings is left with negative 2,390 shillings. The second officer earns a basic salary of 57,420 shillings, but is now left with a negative 7,431 after deductions totaling to 64,851. A third officer takes home 832 shillings after deductions from 56,350 earnings. The officers say they will seek legal redress.
Mr. Mutyambai is using bronze to effect orders in the National Police Service. This is an issue of law. How do a police officer wake up one day to find that he's having a negative salary? He's earning 300 shillings. He has got dependents. He's got responsibilities. We have to bring a class suit against Mr. Hilary Mutyambai. It doesn't change the fact that we are disciplined officers. But when pushed against the wall as it is today, I do think very, very, very honestly that we have to bring Mr. Mutyambai as an individual to account.
The IG has defended the decision, saying it would ensure fairness in the service. He writes in the letter, "In view of the above order to have fairness across graduate officers of other ranks, I direct that you adjust the salaries of officers of other ranks in Job Group J to what is earned by their counterparts in respective ranks." In 2019, the National Police Service Commission also protested the order to pay police constables who hold university degree certificates a salary equivalent to their seniors in the rank of inspectors of police. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
To health matters now, and the Ministry of Health has defended its recent controversial directive that Kenyans seeking government services will now have to provide proof of vaccination by December 21st. A section of the population was unhappy with the directive, arguing that vaccine take-up should be voluntary. But the ministry argues that the move will help prevent the possibility of a fifth wave or a spike in infections, and urged Kenyans to get vaccinated without resorting to the enforcement of a Public Health Act. Helen Aura with more.
Vaccination of teenagers aged 15 to 18 with the Pfizer vaccine was set to kick off today across the country. This comes as the Ministry of Health further announced that it has enough vaccines to cater to this age group.
At the moment, we are going to start with our vaccination centers. The teenagers can walk in with their guardian. They give verbal approval and they get vaccinated. As we move ahead, we will work with the Ministry of Education and see better strategies to reach them, because we must know that they are the main carriers of the virus.
But Kenyans have taken to social media to express their concern over the directive that the unvaccinated may not be able to access government services after the 21st of December. Amnesty International called out the government on the move, saying it should not coerce Kenyans to get vaccinated. But this is what the government had to say.
First and foremost, his statement did not make COVID-19 vaccination mandatory. Far from that. That statement must be viewed from the fact that it puts in place measures that are for the public health good.
As of today, 6,494,091 million doses have been administered across the country, with 4,033,811 people being partially vaccinated and 2,460,280 now fully vaccinated. The proportion of adults now fully vaccinated stands at 9%. The government further says that it is targeting to vaccinate 27 million Kenyans by 2022. But when asked whether this is in contravention of the Bill of Rights,
I think Amnesty must also realize that even certain rights will have limitations for the public good. If somebody who is highly infectious is going to be in a train going to Mombasa for holiday and infect so many other people, that cannot be said that it has to be waited. In fact, I think Amnesty should be trying to ensure that the inequality on vaccines globally is what should be addressed.
The ministry says that the recent directive has seen an increase in the number of Kenyans getting vaccinated. 88% of health workers have now been fully vaccinated, as well as 79% of teachers. There are still ongoing talks among various multi-agency teams to produce a clear plan for the implementation of the new measures. A 10-day sensitization campaign is also set to start on the 26th of November across the country. Helen Aura, NTV.
Let's now switch gears to our conversation of the day, and we're kickstarting this broadcast with that conversation around career transition or changing careers. And to help us along with this, we are joined by Joan Thuo, who is a career coach. Thank you for your time, and definitely this is a conversation that perhaps most have thought about, others have already actioned on it for different reasons. Let's start off from there. Why do people normally, or some of the common reasons why people opt to change careers?
Thank you very much, Gladys. Thank you for having me here, as usual. So why do people change careers? A number of reasons. The first one is job satisfaction. So, sometimes we find ourselves in jobs that are not in line with our strengths, our skills, and our passions. So, you find people 2 years down the line realizing that I'm not passionate about what I'm doing. Like this job is not giving me the satisfaction that I need and I want. So that's usually the first, like one of the first things that cause people to switch careers. The second one, of course, is money. So sometimes people have found themselves in jobs and they realize that this job is not as lucrative as I had wanted it to be, and I have a family to feed. And so they realize that if I continue in this particular career, chances are I'm not going to be able to provide for my family, and so they decide they want to leave. For others, it's because health reasons. You could have, be in a job that is in line with your strengths, your skills, and your passions. It's paying you well, but then maybe you fall sick. Or you get a condition that does not allow you to continue in that particular career path, and you need to switch. The other reason is family. Sometimes some people get married, and maybe your husband or your wife is living in a particular location, and especially for people who are young in marriage, they feel that they need to be close to their spouses, so they end up to move to be like closer to the spouse or to the family. So I found also that family is one of the reasons that causes people to switch careers.
Speaking of family, perhaps it touches on the need for flexibility, where you have been at a certain or in a certain career path, but you feel you need a little bit more room to perhaps balance out the work and family, or just work-life balance, right?
Right.
Okay, now talk to me about something that I came across that perhaps is also a reason for some people. The feeling of appreciation. You don't feel appreciated where you're at.
Right. And I feel that also ties in with the job satisfaction. So, someone might lose job satisfaction, through a number of reasons, and rightfully that someone is not feeling appreciated where they're working is one of the factors that would cause someone to feel that they want to like leave an organization or leave a particular job. And most of the time, you see, this is something that is out of the person's control, because if your employer, if your leadership is not appreciating the value that you bring into this organization, you see, you could be breaking your back, you could be doing everything right, but that your employer or that your leadership is not appreciating you. This is something external, and yes, it could cause someone to want to switch careers.
Okay, how about the stress factor? Because there's some people who can say, okay, fine, I love what I do, but I really don't like it where I do it at. So is this something that you should consider as, a guide or sort of informing your decision to change careers? Or should you perhaps deal with the stresses before you make the leap?
Right. So for me, mental health is actually really critical, at work. We need to be, cautious of our mental health, and just asking ourselves the question that, is this job bringing the best out of me? Because if a job is really stressing you to the point where you need to be hospitalized, it means then you are, number one, not performing at your best in that particular job. And then number two, it could cause, health problems. You could end up being hospitalized, or even the people who've actually lost their lives, the people who've committed suicide because of work. So yes, I would agree and say that mental health is, one of the things, and it is important that when you're thinking about the career that you are trying to get into, if you make sure that it's in line with your strengths, your skills, and your passions, if you make sure that it's work that you enjoy doing, high chances are, these other external factors are not going to really make you feel like you want to move. Most of the times, people who end up, suffering, mental health related issues because of work, most of the time it's because then they are doing work that is not in line with their strengths, their skills, and their passions.
And still building on that, Joan, there is also the issue of ethics and values. Perhaps you got into this company, you're good at what you do, but there are certain things about the culture of the company that do not sit right with you. Should this be a significant factor?
Yes, because, of course, if you find yourself in an organization that they are involved in, things that are illegal, or there's something in that organization that does not, sit very well with you. We've seen cases and instances where people have actually, gone to jail because maybe you signed a particular document and, you didn't even know, what you're probably signing, and, your names are forwarded and you end up, going to jail for probably something or a crime that you did not commit. So yes, that you find work that is in line with your values is something that is usually also important. That you're thinking about, is this job paying me well? Is it in line with my strengths, my skills and passions? But then also doing your homework around this company, what they do. Is what they do, is the product and services they are offering, are they legal? And you being there, does it have any implication on your values and your ethics?
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Now, before we get to understand now what you would need to consider before you make this career leap, remember the question of the day to you is, have you ever considered changing careers and what is holding you back? And also, if you have already taken that leap, how is that experience? Talk to us. That hashtag is New Normal. And as I said, we shall keep those numbers at the bottom of the screen for you to put across any questions or guidance that you would like to get from Joan this morning. Now, Arthur says, I moved from tourism to construction and I'm happy to spread my passion to some other energies. I face similar challenges once in a while, but it's another way to keep the fire burning in me. Thank you, Arthur, for sharing, and kudos to you. Nyakwar says, I'm a teacher by profession, teaching mathematics and business studies, but I feel like I don't have passion for teaching, and for that I am considering pursuing masters in accounting so that I can change fully to be an accountant. Interesting shift, and all the best. Jay says, I did a complete U-turn from biotech to fintech. Best decision I ever made career-wise. All right. Thank you for sharing. Remember, that hashtag is New Normal. Would like to know if you've ever considered changing careers and what perhaps is holding you back. And if you've already taken that leap, how that experience is so far. Again, that hashtag is New Normal. Now, Joan, before we get to understand how to actually take the leap and do it strategically, from the feedback we've just read, some people have literally done a U-turn. I was pursuing this, then I decided, no, I think there's something else out there for me. Not necessarily because I don't even like it, because I feel in me a more, like I can do much more than just this one thing I have been dedicated to for a while. Do you see this a lot?
Yes, I see this a lot, and it happens more commonly than than you'd think. And I think when someone is experiencing that crossroad, when you find yourself in that particular situation where you feel you want to switch, there's this thing that most people believe that I'm just the only one, that this case is very unique to me, and I would want to really assure you that there are so many people who get to that roadblock. Actually, one person I would want to highlight is Michelle Obama. Last year, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, she released the book Becoming Michelle. And I really like chapter 10, where she talks about her move. And Michelle says in her book that she really hated being a lawyer. And, when she met Barack and, he was so passionate about what he did, she knew that she had to be grounded in her career if she was to, form a meaningful life with him. So what she did, because now she knew that she needed to switch from being a lawyer, she knew that she was passionate about, like Black women and education and things like that. But now she did not know how to switch, because she knew that if she was to give up this career as a lawyer, number one, she would need to, take a pay cut. And she was accustomed to a particular kind of life, and she was not like really sure, but what she knew is that she did not like being a lawyer. And I like how she's really broken it down very well, like the various steps that she did. So if someone like Michelle Obama can reach, and it's Michelle and many other people, reach to a point where she says, I spent so much money and I spent so much time investing in this degree, because she did law. And, so many people have invested so much time and money in doing things. And then at the end of it all, they realize, no, this is not what I want to do. It's so many people. So if you find yourself in that position, you are not the only one.
I like that you put that across, because some people stay on something that no longer, brings the joy or even sparks the light in them anymore, just because of the time and the money invested in it, right?
Right.
Okay.
And yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, and I like this quote. Yeah, I like this quote that says, just because you spend too much time making a mistake, does not necessarily mean that you need to continue doing it. You can change, because you're not a tree.
There we go. Yeah. So are we saying it doesn't matter how long or how old you've been in the workforce, there's always a chance for you to make that U-turn, so to speak?
That is exactly what we are saying. Because then, you might be 40 years old or 50 years old and you feel, no, it's too late. Like I've spent too much time, and, I've spent too much time as a doctor maybe, or I've spent too much time as a teacher maybe. I'm too old. And so all these reasons, you might give yourself so many reasons why you shouldn't make this change and you shouldn't make this a move, which is not entirely correct and true, because you just need to start where you are. The minute you get that feeling, because what normally happens before you make that transition, something always sparks inside of you, and it's something that you cannot deny anymore. You'll wake up in the morning and you're going to work and you feel no, there's something that is wrong, and it's something that you almost cannot explain to someone, because then maybe you are working in this organization and you're earning so much, but then you still feel there's something that's missing. Whether you're 50 years old, whether you've spent 15 years in school and to get education to do that particular work, that should not stop you from making the switch.
And speaking of which, Joan, perhaps from your experience with the different clients you deal with, have you seen a lot more people switch careers within the pandemic? Because some said the pandemic in itself gave them a lot of clarity, but also called on their other potentials.
Right. We are actually calling it the big resignation. Well, it's happened so much, like in the States, but I actually really felt it from last year, like going on to like 2021. But I remember in 2020, it was like really huge. So like people were really changing jobs. So in 2020, I think it's because, the pandemic happened, then, you're working from home, you realize that you're spending so much time commuting, and you're spending so much time away from your family, and just being in that setup that you're able to work, you're able to see your children, you're able to spend time with your family. There's now, you're feeling there's a lot of work-life balance. People really rethought, their jobs. People really rethought their careers. People are now looking to find work that is, that gives them that flexibility to be, at home. Also, people now, because of just being home, I think now started thinking about now, like what are my strengths? Because you remember when the pandemic started, people were baking and, exercising and doing other things, because now they were at home and now they had time to pursue things that, that they loved to do. And so many people ended up switching, because most of the time, and I know from the generation I come from, we did degrees because we were told, this degree is very lucrative. So you did not first think about, what do I love? What am I passionate about? Like what things come naturally to me? We did degrees that we were told were lucrative. And so we put our passions like on the side, and then we pick, like the degrees that we are, are told that are lucrative. So I think during the pandemic, people, and I don't think it's even just in Kenya, like across the world, people are now thinking about, their passions, their skills, the things that they love to do. And so we saw that switch. And, and it's what we are calling the big resignation, because many people have been, leaving jobs because, number one, they want work that is in line with their strengths, their skills, and their passions. They want work that gives them flexibility to be there with their families and, you see, to see their children grow up. So we have really seen that switch and that change. And it's something I've actually also seen with many of my clients.
All right. So even as we talk about the possibility of switching careers and the fact that it's never too late to do the same, let's talk about how you can successfully do this, because you also want to do this and have a soft landing, so to speak. So what would you advise to do first of all before you even take that leap?
All right. So let me refer back to Michelle's book, Becoming. So I remember when Michelle told the mom that she wanted to, leave law entirely, the mom told her that you need to, secure the money first and then follow the passion later. Of course, she probably, took that into consideration, and but then, she continued to, look for people who were ahead in the career trajectory that she wanted to go into. And then, she was later on, she was able to successfully switch. So what are some of the things that you want to think about so that then even as you switch, you get, like a smooth landing? And the first thing is, most of the time, if you're taking, when you transition, you might be lucky for you to maintain the money that you're currently getting. But more often than not, you might have to take a pay cut. So that you are psychologically prepared for this, then it's going to, make you transition better. One of the things that you probably want to do is, save up. So that then you're just not waking up one day and deciding, like, I've been working as head of procurement for the past 15 years, and then now I want to, to become a part-time tutor. You see, maybe you are really passionate about tutoring, but then the monies, there might be, like a huge gap between what you're earning as a procurement person and what you'll be earning as a tutor. So, saving up and preparing for this move, I find is really helpful. And you could actually also now decide that, I'm going to save up, but then also I could probably also like do a side gig as I'm planning to transition out. So that then when you are now, you've transitioned out completely from like this procurement, you have some backup, and you actually also have like this side gig. So that then, because things normally happen. So when you know that you have like various streams of income, then it gives you that piece to, to pursue like what it is that you're passionate about without worrying about the money. Because if you do not sort out the money bit, it can make you now, lose, like the track of your passion. Because at the end of the day, people have families. You have to feed your family. Yeah. You will not go home and tell your wife that, I've decided to leave this job completely to pursue my passion, and there's no food on the table. You see, so figuring out the money is something that is like very important. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing, when you're planning to transition out, so I actually think of them as 4 key points. So you need to get clear, you need to get qualified, you need to get connected, and you need to get started. So those 4 things are what are important. On getting clear, you need to think about what are my strengths and my skills and my passions. And I like what, like someone once said, that you need to think of yourself as a shop. You are a value creating entity. What do you have inside of you in terms of your passions, your skills, your talents? What do you carry? And because you are going to transition into something that you are passionate about. What's the one thing that you can do better than anyone else with the least amount of effort? So you need to get clear about the direction in which you are transitioning into, because it's going to be very unfortunate if you leave this comfort zone. Like maybe it was like this procurement for the past 15 years, and you're saying that you want to become a tutor. If you've not thought critically about this tutoring, and that it's something that you're passionate about, and that and remember, passion means suffering. When you say you're passionate about something, it means it's something that you are willing to suffer for. Because I think sometimes we glamorize passion, and you think that because I'm doing something I'm passionate about, automatically money is going to come, automatically it's going to be easy, and that's not accurate. When you're passionate about something, when a client comes to me and tells me they are passionate about, let's say something like marketing, like I want them to tell me of instances that they've done this marketing. If you're currently doing HR and you're saying you're passionate about marketing, have you done anything around this marketing? Because you cannot tell me you're passionate about something and you're not volunteering, and you're not doing any project, and you're not, you've not done any certification, or you're trying to, like get some learnings in this marketing thing that you're saying, you're passionate about. So getting clear about where you're transitioning into is really important. And then the second thing, of course, is getting qualified. So like, let's say you are in marketing and now you want to get into HR. You see how it's going to be very difficult for you to get a HR role without HR certifications. So you need to think about this area that I want to transition into. What are the qualifications that are needed, and do I have those qualifications, and can I get these qualifications? We are living in times now when education is readily available. Actually, I think, like in the coming years, the traditional ways of learning, might just switch up a bit, because we are getting into times where you need to specialize. People who are specializing in different things are the ones who are getting hired. Because remember, when you get in front of the hiring manager or recruiter, they want to see the skills that you currently possess. So if you're saying that you want to get into HR, you need some qualifications. Just imagine someone saying that they want to become a doctor and they don't have to, and they don't have any qualifications. Would you want to be operated on with someone without like any papers? Of course not. So getting qualified is another thing that is really important. The other thing is that you need to get connected. So you're saying that you want to transition from procurement into tutoring. Do you know of other tutors? How did they how did they start off? What have they studied? What are some of the challenges that they've come across? Again, referring to Michelle's book, she says that she put herself in front of everyone and anyone who wanted to listen to her story, and anyone who might have the knowledge that she needed to be able to transition. And luckily, she was able to find someone who now connected her to someone who gave her a job as an assistant mayor. And then after that, she went on to become, she worked in nonprofits. She also worked as an assistant dean. And then, the rest we know. So you need to get connected. Get connected to people who are 3 years ahead in the trajectory that you want to go into, because these are the people who are going to help you, navigate, because it's not easy. Doing the transition is not an easy thing. It's not something that happens instantly. It's going to take time, but if you get clear and get qualified and get connected, I believe you're going to have a smooth landing.
Okay, and even perhaps to add on to that, you can speak on the importance of rebranding yourself, because you have been this person doing this thing for so long, and that's how the world or even the workforce recognizes you as. What's the importance of rebranding?
Right, Gladys, that's a perfect question. And it's one of the things, especially with my clients who are looking to move from one career to the other. It's something that we actually, because it's me and the client, we really struggle with this. Because you see, if you were working in marketing and now you want to get into HR, your CV needs to change. Because you see how if your CV only entirely reads marketing, and you apply for a HR role, it's going to be impossible for you to land an interview. Because the purpose of a CV is to land you an interview first and foremost. The purpose of an interview is, to land the offer. But you're not going to get into the interview room with a CV that, like for example, if you're applying for a HR role, your CV needs to read HR. So branding is really important, because then if people have known you, as a person X. So, like for example, maybe someone has been singing for the past 15 years, and now they want to, run as women, like a woman rep. You see how they really need to brand themselves, like completely, because all this time everyone knows them, like as a singer. So what documents? So let's start with the documents that you need to rebrand if you are looking to transition. And the professional documents, of course, are the CV, the cover letter, and the LinkedIn profile. Now, let me start with the LinkedIn profile, because LinkedIn is one of the platforms that many people are getting hired on, and especially right now, like during 2020 and 2021, so many people have gotten hired on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your online CV. So like now, for example, if you've worked as a marketing professional for the past 8 years, and now you're looking to get into HR, of course, your work experience cannot change, because now you cannot cook and say you worked in HR and indeed, like you did not work in HR. But you can make a change on the summary section of your LinkedIn profile, for example, and say that I have, for the past 8 years, I've been working as a marketing professional, and this is what I've been, I was able to achieve at my time in the marketing role. But now I'm looking to transition into HR because of 1, 2, 3 things. Because remember, when I read that summary section, I need to be convinced, like about the switch, so that then it's not something that I will read and feel this person just woke up one day and decided they want to switch from this to that. So that summary section on the LinkedIn profile is important, and even on your CV. So now your CV is going to have 2 things. It's going to have all this experience in marketing, but then it's also now going to show that you are now transitioning into HR. So that then when a recruiter or a hiring manager gets that CV, it's very clear. The cover letter is a perfect document, that you can use to really explain and document what you are looking, where you have been and where you're going to, where you're looking to transition into. The mistake that some people might make is now, if I'm moving from marketing to HR, you remove everything about marketing, because now you want to transition into this new thing, which is not accurate. You need to maintain what you did. Realize that you like for the past 8 years, there are things that you did, there are people that you met, there are certain things that you grew, as a person. It's just that now you're transitioning into something else. So you are leveraging on your previous work and experience to now transition into this new career trajectory.
Okay, so even as we bring this conversation to a close, first of all, I'm told we still have some feedback. If we have that, let's take it at this point, even as we understood, if you've already taken the leap, how it's going, and if you want to, what's holding you back. Bonet says, nothing works like pressure to survive when changing your career, but the best scenarios are out of passion. I left a job to start my own business, and it's not for the faint-hearted. We hear you and thank you for sharing. Rose Beverlyn says, moved from teaching to full-time research. I'm loving the experience. So yes, you can hear the people who've done it. It's doable. It's possible. But as Joanne is saying, you've got to be strategic, and she has shared those pointers with us. Even as we close, Joanne, perhaps you can put out there briefly what you should consider about the potential employer that you're eyeing, or this new space you're walking into, things that should be bare minimum to give you that soft landing.
All right. So the first thing is, when you're picking this employer, what is that work environment and what is their culture? And is their culture in line with your values? Many people have found themselves in organizations that pay them well, and it seems like a right fit, but then the environment and the culture is amiss. And if the environment and the culture is amiss, you're not going to thrive. The second thing is, in this organization that I'm looking to go into, are there opportunities of growth? There are so many people who found themselves in places where there's a ceiling. So beyond a particular point, there is nowhere else you can grow. So you are researching this organization, where are they from and where are they going? And are you, you're researching about their leadership. Do you trust the vision? Do you believe that the organization is going to grow? Because then you will only grow if the organization is growing. So that you are also critically looking at the structure of that organization and the role that you're going into. Are there other opportunities of growth? And this is actually really useful, especially if you have multiple offers, at hand, that you deciding one offer from the other, you're thinking about this organization, are there opportunities of growth?
Okay.
Then things like, in this organization, am I going to be able to thrive? That, is this organization a home for my strengths, my skills, and my passions? Because sometimes, you could get into an organization that, that is a bit toxic, and you are not allowed to, give any feedback. If you're a creative, your creativity, it's not possible for your creativity to come, alive. Or the leadership want to make decisions and not incorporate like what the team is saying and things like that. So thinking about the kind of environment that you're going into, is this organization toxic, or is it an organization that I will be able to come alive, and I'll find home for my strengths, my skills, and my passions.
All right, Joan, that is so helpful, because I know there's a whole population that are perhaps even thinking about changing careers or transitioning even as we come to the end of 2021. Thank you for your nuggets of wisdom, as always, pertaining matters career. That is Joan Thuo. She is the career coach, and we thank you for your time and also for engaging us on that question of the day. Remember, this conversation continues online, so please feel free to speak about your own journey and perhaps some of the struggles you're having in this career transitioning journey. Well, we also transition to another conversation in the next hour. If you own a car, then the frustration that comes with insurance claims is all too familiar. But that is about to change soon, because we are also getting into the tech world where things are done easier and better. Find out what I'm talking about in a moment.